So guys, see what Bayo Ononuga said during an interview section on Arise TV that has been causing a whole lot of uproar. Let me read directly from the Twitter handle of Arise TV, and it stated here saying, DSS and military were involved in the rescue of the 38 worshippers in Eruku, Kwara State. They made contact with the bandits to secure the release of the captives. Security agencies have systems for tracking these criminals, allowing them to monitor developments in real time. They reached out to the kidnappers and demanded the rescue of the victims, and they complied, aware of consequences of defying government's directives. Special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga. And again, this other headline from Arise TV Twitter handle equally said, security personnel know all the bandits that operate in that axis. They know where they operate. They cannot apprehend them because an attack due to the risk of collateral damage because the bandits living among civilians. They must act carefully to avoid harming citizens. So this is the spokesperson for the Tinubu's government saying that the security personnel know all the bandits that operate in that axis. And he equally said that the government of the day, Tinubu's government, contacted these terrorists, that the military and the DSS were involved, that they contacted the terrorists and demanded for the release of their victims, and guess what? They complied. Nigerians have been asking questions on how were they able to secure the release of the victims, Eruku church victims. And now, Bayo Ononuga is telling Nigerians that the military personnel, that they know where all these bandits are. But they can't arrest them, they can't prosecute them, they cannot sentence them to life imprisonment. It's only when it's an Igbo man. If you're a northerner, you are into crime, you are a secret cow. But if you are from the southeast, you risk life imprisonment. Anyway, guys, that's not the headline. Now, let me take you through some of the reactions from Nigerians. Like this person here reacted saying, did I just read they reached out to the kidnappers and demanded the release of the victims and they complied? So it was actually demand and supply, or should I say demand and release? And this other person here said, APC, this is a shame. You negotiated with bandits for release, and 24 hours after release of the people they kidnapped, not a single arrest or gunshot battle with this battle have been had. Not an arrest. Not even a gunshot. They know where these bandits are. They prefer not to touch them. So guys, this is really, really sad. And this other person here, now listening to this ridiculous story of how people were supposedly rescued, let's be honest, we all know a ransom was paid, and they are just too cowardly to admit it. Bayo suddenly isn't boasting about it. Give me a break. Those criminals are chilling and vibing untouched. They cannot touch them. He said they know where they are. So guys, and this other person here said, here Bayo Ononuga finally admitting that the kidnappers were known to the Tinubu's administration. They work with them, they paid them, and without apprehending them for their crime, they took the girls from them. So guys, I'm not just going to go further. There are a lot of reactions from Nigerians, but you can see this is shocking. After days, Nnamdi Kanu was sentenced to life imprisonment. The Tinubu's government is coming out to admit that they know the hideouts of the terrorists. They have their contacts, that they reached out to them, demanded they release the girls, that the military and the DSS have gadgets that can track them. So they know how to track this gadget, and Nigeria is on flame. And Nigeria is burning down. So guys, I'm just going to allow you to take a look at this interview session just for you to hear all that Bayo Ononuga vomited during this session. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notification. Now take a look.
We've heard that people who've taken these students are likely to be bandits who are likely to ask for a ransom payment. Has any such ransom demand been received?
As far as I know, no.
And no indication of who they are?
Well, I said the security people, they know all the bandits that operate in that axis. They know them. They know them. So
what about their location? Is that known as well?
They know. I don't want to talk about the way they do their work, but I said they know all the gangsters operating along that route.
So why can't they destroy them before they go and attack these places? I don't understand why they have to kind of wait.
Collateral damage. Look, our people are living around where they operate, so you can't just go there. Look, Something happened some years ago in, I think, Borno State. Ran. Even in somewhere, I think Sokoto or so, when the military thought they had the right satellite connection or something, and they went to bomb somewhere, only to find out.
Yes, we heard
they bombed the wrong people.
Yeah.
And they need to be very careful that in the course of chasing these bandits, they don't go and bomb innocent Nigerians.
Yeah, but you just said they know where they are.
I said no. They know where they operate. They know where they operate.
Right. So basically, you don't really have a clue at this stage, and I mean you, not you in particular, but the government in general, about how to deal with this. I mean, that's the way it sounds.
Government has a clue. I said, in the case of Niger, let the school authorities, let them even tell the security people, these are the people missing. So they know they have a picture of what the problem they really want to deal with.
Yeah, but you have a picture. I mean, everybody knows that according to the
school, to the CAN chairman, they said,
more than 300
give us the names. Give us the names. They don't want to give us the names. Why? What are they hiding?
Yeah, but what about the people who've been reported to have escaped? I mean,
they didn't escape.
No, what I mean
they didn't escape from the bandits.
Who hid away
they
from
were not.
them.
Nobody took them away.
Right. Okay.
They ran a tascator and they ran to their parents.
Right, okay. The president says he's approved the redeployment of police from VIPs to the protection of sort of threatened sites. Do you know where they're being sent to, those police that are
it's a matter of details for the police authority to work out. What the president was concerned with is basically that in many, let me give you an example. One day we traveled from Kanu to Dutse, about 2 hours on the very good road. Along that stretch, we only saw one police vehicle. So it means from Kano to Dutse, once you leave Kano and you are facing Dutse, most of the areas there are ungoverned. So no security presence, no police, nothing.
Well, the reason I'm asking you that is because, I mean, I'm wondering where they're being sent to, because we're hearing from people.
Many of our, like Eruku, when that incident happened, how many policemen were in Eruku? I think I landed other 3 or 4. So they could do nothing.
Yeah.
Other 3 or 4. So with 3, in fact, and I landed, out of the 3 or 4, they had only 1 rifle.
That is bizarre. But that's also, that's the problem of the government.
It's a real problem. So whereas you have our policemen, including anti-riot policemen or something, protecting big men in Nigeria, and they are fully armed. Why can't you send them?
Yeah, but you're saying this as though you're suddenly realizing that this is what has been going. I mean, it's been going on for a long time.
Because if you want to fight all these crimes, you really need to have number, and we have number. We have policemen, not even enough, but we have number. Let's even deploy them to areas, vulnerable areas where they are most needed, and that's what government is doing. So look, we have policemen. I read a paper today. I said about 100,000 policemen are guarding VIPs. 100,000, that will make a lot of difference.
Yeah.
If you share them out to vulnerable areas.
Indeed.
Along that axis of Northwest, if you send them there, they will really help.
Absolutely.
How should we proceed to begin to have some level of sanity in this system? On one hand, people like Sheikh are saying combat kinetic may not really solve the problem in the long run. It may get a short-term solution, but in the long run, will not solve the problem. But people like you were saying terrorists must go to court and be tried and sent to jail. How do we reconcile those parts?
Thank you. I think Sheikh has, I usually don't like elevating him so much, but he has been given some form of recognition by the government as the chief emissary of those who are inflicting terror on our country. He's not pretentious about the fact that he has been the most vociferous advocate of terrorists in Nigeria. And I say that without apology. He calls for dialogue, he calls for negotiation, he calls for pampering of murderers, killers, rapists, arsonists, people whose preoccupation is to decimate life, to destroy property, and to wreck communities. Now, I am very worried about the direction the country is going, about the way our institutions are treating this matter, the insecurity in the country, particularly in the northern part of the country. We have a country that is supposedly governed by laws. We have the Terrorism Prevention Act. We have the penal codes across the various states in the north. We have various penal legislations that have criminalized terror, criminalized murder, criminalized kidnapping, criminalized arson. We have agencies of government established by law to enforce these laws. Chief among them being the Nigeria Police Force. We have the State Security Service, which is supposed to be the domestic intelligence arm of the Nigerian security architecture. We have the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. If you go further, we even have our armed forces, the Nigeria Air Force, the Nigerian Navy, and the Nigerian Army. And we have a judicial system that is supposed to try, prosecute, and where proven, convict persons who are inflicting this terror on the country. Across the 36 states and the FCT, we have high courts, state high courts. In Abuja, the FCT high court. We have federal high courts with divisions spread across almost all the states in Nigeria. These courts have jurisdiction to try and prosecute terrorists. Guess what? We have a Federal Ministry of Justice headed by the Attorney General of the Federation. We liaison in almost all the states. At the state levels, we have ministries of justice in all the states, with prosecutors paid by government, both at the national and subnational level. So the issue is not absence of institutions. The problem is not inadequacy of prosecutorial capacity. It is not as if we do not have prosecutors in sufficient numbers to prosecute these terrorists. And I dare submit that the problem is not even that we do not have the manpower within the armed forces and the Nigerian security to stop these killings. My own assessment is that this terrorism has persisted, has festered, because we seem to be living in a country where either terrorists or terrorist sympathizers and financiers are the ones fighting terrorism. And that is why the terror has not ended. That is on the one hand. On the other hand, it looks as if the killings of our fellow countrymen and women have become such a lucrative venture. So I am laying this background to say that from where I stand, I refuse, and I'm willing to stake anything on this, I refuse to accept the premise that the entire components of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that the Nigerian Air Force, the Nigerian Army, with formations across the country, is so weak, is so incompetent, is so directionless, is so inefficient, is so understaffed, to be held to ransom. What we have seen, government after government, particularly the 8 years, the 8 disastrous years of the Buhari regime and the Tinubu dispensation, is that those who have the capacity, those in government, they do not appreciate the urgency of now. Because how do you explain the argument about non-kinetic strategy that the likes of Gumi and his co-travelers have been propagating? That, oh, the solution does not lie in bombing and killing them.
He says Southern Kaduna has produced that result.
How?
That is his template.
What is the result that we have seen? What is the result? He should explain to us. Because I listened to the
scale of attacks, number of killings since this governor came in, because he was able to negotiate.
What is the strategy of the government?
PZ
of the governor? We had a former governor of that state. I've not seen that they have come to challenge him. Rufai, who declared on national, I'm not sure if it was your station, who just declared on national television a few days ago accusing the governor of paying 1 billion to terrorists. I don't know whether that is true, but this is what the former governor is saying. So are they telling us?
Because on this platform. I'm just wondering, perhaps if you can paint a picture of a failed state. And when you consider Nigeria, does it tick all of the boxes of what a representation of a failed state is?
Quite an interesting question. Has the Nigerian state failed? The question is the state standing? Is the state efficient? What are the indices to come to a conclusion that the state has failed? One, and very vital, is where the state has lost the monopoly of violence. The capacity to deploy force as an instrument for ensuring social cohesion. The Nigerian state has lost that. The second is where institutions are not working. I just laid the foundation of all the institutions that exist under our laws to address this mayhem. These institutions have failed. So where is the capacity of the Nigerian state for anybody to pretend, if at a minimum we do not want to agree that the state has failed, we should be able to agree that the Nigerian state is failing, and is failing at an accelerated rate. Because today, you have a commander-in-chief that is not even commanding Boy Scouts. You have a commander-in-chief whose words, whose orders are almost meaningless.
Would that be fair assessment of his role?
It is fair.
The president is doing what he can do.
What is he doing? He's welcoming the campaigns. He's celebrating governors who are transiting from PDP, from Labour Party, governors and lawmakers to the APC. That is what excites him. I have not seen that passion by this president to stop the killings. First, he has not visited the victims.
Yeah, but some argue that he had to boycott some international trips, for that security meeting held, I think, on Saturday. He had to deploy the Minister of Defense to Kebbi State and all of that. Yes, he has not visited, but the Vice President visited Kebbi.
He has not visited.
But the Vice President was
the Vice President, the Commander-in-Chief. And when the Vice President went to Kebbi, what have they achieved? What have they achieved? Yesterday, announcement was made that yesterday or 2 days ago, that this same president has ordered that policemen will be withdrawn from all VIPs in Nigeria, so that policemen can be redirected to fight actual insecurity. As I was on your way to the station, I cannot count the number of convoys that I've seen policemen in their numbers accompanying VIPs. You have a president whose words are meaningless. They are deceiving us. This president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has no interest in stopping these killings. That is my assessment. I will never accept that the Nigerian government does not have the capacity to stop these things. Because how many are they? Members of Boko Haram, members of ISWAP, and the so-called bandits who are actually terrorists. How many are there?
When you talk about the urgency of now and the ability of the state to come strong, what exactly are you saying? Because everybody seems to say wants something drastic to happen, but I don't think I've heard anybody say what that thing is. What is that thing you expect to happen?
You are not going to solve this problem. Well, history will vindicate the just, like I always say. But I don't see these killings. I don't see these endless, abominable atrocities being put to an end by the government going on its knees to bow before the terrorists.
The reason I'm asking that question, because you're a lawyer, and that's why we're bringing the legal angle. We haven't seen the much we can see in terms. Nnamdi Kanu was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment on the 7-count charge. And then I think, I haven't seen the CTC of, I've read the Nnamdi Kanu CTC, but the one of an ISWAP leader that was sentenced to 20 years, perhaps an ideological terrorist. I haven't seen the CTC, so I don't know which counts gave him 20 years, because we know what the law says at the end of the day. Is there also a failure in prosecution successfully of terrorists to be able to deter them from being able to do what they do? Is that part of the failure?
Of course. Under Buhari, they told us they were going to publish names of sponsors of terror. If you are aware of this, you can fact check me. Abubakar Malami, the Attorney General, said they had compiled a list of sponsors of terror. They never did. Tinubu has been president for 3 years going. He has not disclosed the name of a single financier of terrorism. I dare you to contradict me. that this government has not told Nigerians one person who has been found to be financing and supporting terrorism in Nigeria. You cannot kill a problem that you are not willing to diagnose. You cannot be accepting prescription from a doctor who is unwilling to diagnose you, who is unwilling to disclose to you what is responsible for the symptoms that you are experiencing. That is what is going on. You are not going to stop these killings when the government has failed to tell us how these terrorists are getting financed. The arms, look at the heavy weaponry that they are using to fight to kill our soldiers. Where are they getting the arms from? It is either it comes in from the sea, from the air, or from land borders.
The reason my question actually is, what in the law can we do to strengthen national security? Because you're a lawyer, so you need to give us that solution.
It is not paucity of laws. I want to be understood. You know, I laid a foundation, intentionally so. Nigeria has avalanche, plethora of legislations. Nigeria has institutions to implement these laws. What is lacking is the political will. The political will. Look at what Saudi Arabia did with terrorists. I am telling you this morning that 3 years going, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration is unable to disclose to Nigerians a single person that is financing terrorism in our country. That is the beginning. The Ministry of Justice has not even come out plain to disclose to us the information at their disposal regarding, because if you are going to stop the problem, you must be willing to implement the law. In the case of Nnamdi Kanu, who has now been convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment, we had agents of the State Security Service going to give evidence against him, even though in camera that is in secret. And then they said, oh, this is what he had done. Now he has been convicted. I hear he's in Sokoto Custodial Center. Some form of judicial process, defendants of which some people are subjected to debate. But I'm saying, how come that when it comes to the terrorists or not, we only hear few cases? And why is the government unwilling to arrest them? Are you saying that? I listened to Bayo Nanuga on a sister station barely 24 hours ago, less than 24 hours ago, explaining how the kidnapped victims in Eruku, inquirer said, were rescued. You know what he said? He said the military and the State Security Service were in contact with them, that they called them and asked them to release the victims. Are we stupid in Nigeria?
I don't understand.
That is, he's claiming, I just watched the clip before I came on here, that the Nigerian military and the SSS, I mean the video is right online, I just watched it, called the terrorists and told them, release them, oh, let my people go. That if they did not do so, they would have known the repercussion. What does that tell you? It's not against my position. That look, this government knows who the killers are. They said they know where they are, their coordinates. Are you saying that the SSS, that is so quick, that is so excited to locate people that are using accounts with not with their real identity, to track them, pick them up for criticizing government, like the man that they accused of calling for a coup? They were able to track him, locate him. Yet, terrorists that are slaughtering people, slitting their throats, they have TikTok accounts. They are competing with us on TikTok.
Right. Yes, I mean,
and the SSS is not able to track them.
Yeah.
It's unable to. I reject this premise. Yeah. I completely reject this premise as false.
I saw one of those videos as well, early hours of this morning, where terrorists on TikTok was boasting. So, is there something faulty about the system of government that we practice? Because you have said it's the political will. But basic knowledge about the systems of government is that we have three arms.
Yes.
The executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. But now it looks as if this system that we practice, the legislative and the judiciary, which you represent, you are under the executive. In fact, you are at the mercies of those in the other arm, which you're supposed to be at par with. And that's why we see perhaps some of us fall to these issues of governors buying houses or building houses for judges, buying cars for judges, because it looks like in the end,
yes,
they are all, you judges, or judges, as they say, eventually do not have a say
So is there something faulty as well about this system of government that we practice?
Before you indict judges for having a hand in the terrorism in Nigeria, the question is how many cases have even been taken to court? How many trials are going on? You see, I want us to have clarity of thought on this issue. Yes, the judiciary has a role to play. But the judiciary, the justice system is not a self-activating institution. Judges are not on their own going to prefer charges and issue summons on the government to bring the terrorists for trial. The charges have to be filed, and then the cases are assigned. The cases that are in court, the very few that they are even pretended or shown interest to take to court, trials are going on. Whether those trials are handled expeditiously enough is a different thing. But I'm saying that today, if we are going to blame the judiciary, I don't think it's the bench. Maybe it's the Ministry of Justice. And don't forget that it is not only the federal government that can address this issue. Because let us also be sincere. At the state levels, murder is a state offense in Nigeria. Essentially. Kidnapping is also a state offense. Except where the culprits are being tried under the Terrorism Prevention Act. How many terrorists in Kebbi State has the Kebbi State government shown interest to prosecute? What are they doing? What they are doing is that they are dining with them. We see officials of state government at the subnational level holding meetings with these insurgents. It beats my imagination that in a country like the politician from Plateau said, in a country that General Uba was killed, you saw how they executed him. A general. What does that speak to the morale of the men on the battlefield? It is reported that they even took his phone and ridiculed him. Do you know the amount of intelligence that is lost by that singular act of breach to national security? Yet, this non-kinetic nonsense they are telling us, I don't believe is efficient. Because when you arrest them when they strike in Borno, kidnap school children, and you go and pay them, because what is the non-kinetic? They now realize that, look, why can't they go to Kwara? You go to Kwara to rescue them, pay them ransom. Why can't they go to Kaduna? It has become an endless cycle. And what is the agitation about?
All right.
If they are saying that, like, mischief makers like Gumi are suggesting or insinuating that the problem is that the terrorists have not been catered for, they have been abandoned. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. In my village, in my community, there are people that cannot afford 3 square meal or even a square meal. Even in the natural delta that is so rich, there are communities that are not motorable. So the problem of underdevelopment is a national problem. So let us stop excusing what is clearly an act of criminality. The federal government has the capacity, if it truly wants to address this matter, to deploy the required, and when they say non-kinetic, dialogue. I ask you, when are we going to dialogue with those in IDP camps? Millions of Nigerians are displaced. Nobody is calling for dialogue with them. No form of resettlement.
Yeah.
Where are the victims in this conversation? Let the federal government stop playing politics with terrorism. You cannot be dining with killers and expect that this will be normal.
Anyway, so of course, there's no way you're going to talk about these issues without passion, because as long as lives are lost, it's painful. As we said, whether we're talking with whoever, for the average Nigerian,
yes,
we're just tired of people dying. And this killing has to stop. But I think we also agree that it won't just happen.
Yes.
The state has to make it happen. And there has to be that willingness. We must thank you so much. There's a couple of other things we wanted to discuss with you. But
the nnamdi kanu as well.
Time is totally not our friend today. Anybody Fiong is a legal practitioner and a right activist.
So guys, let me quickly take you through some of the reactions after Bayo Ononuga was spotted saying that the police and the military and the DSS were involved. Okay, the military and the DSS were involved in the rescue of the 38 worshippers in Eruku, Kwara State. They made contact with the bandits to secure the release of the captives.